Okay. Sorry, we don't need this. Actually, we'll leave this review stuff up just in case. Last real lecture of substance here, I think. Have you seen me going through and writing this recycle app? I think maybe some things just maybe you don't realize, right? This is the first time you see it, but we've got some major weaknesses. It looks pretty good. You can't post, or there's no obvious way to post unless you're logged in, for example. But this is not true. It's actually quite easy to do the CRUD operations. We need to somehow prevent that. So that's what the content of today's lecture is. How do we decide? How do we force a user to be logged in, first of all? And how do we make sure that outside, unregistered, or unauthenticated users aren't able to access our API points, all those RESTful stuff? So we got kind of a partial REST thing going on, but we're going to lock down those routes so that only agents, only authenticated users can manipulate the database. We've done a lot of this stuff, like half this stuff we've covered today. So if we get through this lecture and we get through the demo and you're kind of all done, get it into Heroku. This is we don't stress the importance of deployment enough. And you learn a lot about your craft trying just to bring it to market, so to speak. So we're probably just going to rush over this stuff because you already know how to use GitHub. We've been doing responsive design right from the get-go. We do mobile first. So, we'll kind of pay lip service to this, look at some examples. And maybe we'll even be able to incorporate it into the demo or at least some additional stuff. So, really, what we try to do, this is the question we have to ask ourselves. Is this user logged in? And if you're thinking in terms of the Recycle Freedom app, you want the user to log in if that user wants to create a new post. Currently, it's not protected. You also want to have a user logged in if you want to see the profile of another user, right? We shouldn't just be able to have, well, I guess that's not always true, right? There's a lot of public profiles, but maybe we want to lock that down a little bit tighter. A lot of different routes in our actions RB are just unprotected. And for each of those routes, we need to ask this question: is this user logged in? If not, send that user to the login page. Now, because we don't like to repeat ourselves, right? We want to keep things dry. We have these before filters. And we can set a collection of before filters on any number of routes and just execute before Sinatra actually follows through to the requested route. This executes before get/do, for example. This executes before this one executes before get/post/new. Someone wants to create a new one, we make sure that that user logged in before filters. A lot of the time, this is appropriate, right? It happens all the time. I'm sure. You all use your applications online. You kind of let the authentication time out. You go back, you refresh the page. Maybe it's your bank, maybe it's something else. You immediately get redirected. There's a time when it's more appropriate to send back an error code. And I think the one, you guys are all familiar with this one, 404, not fine. I would say, I actually have never counted them, but I'd say there's probably, I'm going to say there's 40 error codes. And this is just like HTTP stuff. This is all at the heart of the protocol, at the heart of the World Wide Web. So very familiar, unauthorized, not found, server error. You don't really see these, right? You see the nice end result when you say, give me your page, and the server sends it back to you, and it's accompanied by this error code 200. This means it's been successful. Status 200, it means everything is great. You start getting up into these 400 errors, then you start seeing weird things. We're going to implement our own today. When you start seeing these 500 errors, then you know that something's it's not you, it's not the communication, it's not authentication. Problem probably resides on the server side, and there's nothing you can do about it. So let's just take a look at some of these. This is a resource I always like to show just because it's kind of funny. HTTP status dogs. So as I said, there's probably about 40 of these things. I'm not sure what this continue means actually, but this is like, you make a request of a web page, 200. Yeah, it's okay. 201, something's been created, accepted. 200 is generally success in some measure. This one's just rude. Every time I see that, it's like, I don't know. I'm pitying this dog, but it's just so funny, and it's just, I don't know, partial content. All sorts of different stuff, right? 200 generally means something good happened. 300 is kind of the same way, but it's at least it's passing off some success to another route. There's a redirect happening here. You may be logged on, maybe you created a post. You're going to get a 300 status response back with your response, or you make a request, you get the code coming back as a response. 302 found, modify, switch proxy. You get up to 400s. Here's the one I say were bad. Something got mangled, right? 400 bad requests, 401. You're not allowed to do that. Doesn't mean that you're not authenticated, but for whatever reason, you are not allowed to access this particular resource. For example, you're not allowed to edit another user's Instagram post. Only that user can do it. You try to do it, you should get that 401 unauthorized, right? Like, what kind of screen would that look like? It's not going to have a view associated with it necessarily, or at least not out of necessity. It's good to send back the correct error, at least the one that most closely corresponds to the problem that occurred. 403 is that forbidden. This is probably more like an unauthorized. Whatever it is, you're just not allowed to see it. Some more obscure ones. Proxy authentication required. All sorts. I like this one. Gone. He's out of there. I had a dog that could jump like that. Unbelievable. Length required, precondition. This one's kind of funny too. Look at this dog. He's too long. Oh, this one was like, I think that was an April Fool's joke, but some servers just for kicks do that. 420, yeah, and that's the official message too. Enhance your comm, right? So you see this one, I think, when Twitter starts getting overloaded. Like, settle down, stop posting so fast. This one's just kind of a gag one as well, but these things always slip in whenever there's computer scientists involved. Unprocessable entities. So yeah, a lot of 400 errors. Something bad happened. You're not getting a response back. 500, internal server error. Maybe the database crashed, right? This has nothing to do with your user. It has nothing to do with interruptions and communication. Here's likely a server miscommunication. Bad gateway, right? Can't get through for some reason. Gateway timeout. All this, just for fun. Of course, there's like HTTP status cats, whatever your animal of preference is. I always turn here when I can't think of the proper status code. In practice, though, the ones we're mostly concerned about and probably see the most often are maybe these first 5: 400, 401, 402, 403, and 404. I think are probably the most common that you see day to day, right? You might never even seen these 300 status codes. You have no idea that they exist because it's all happening behind the scenes. 400, you get a visual response in some capacity. You're gonna be told by something. Okay, so let's move on there. So we just talked about all those different statuses. It's not always a way to visualize the error. If we want to send an error, and we can do this with anyone, right? And this is kind of like on you as the developer. You should try to stick close to the intended meaning of the error code. So 401, of course, is not authorized. Render a view. Tell the user that this is not authorized, and this is the exact thing that we'll do in the demo. we'll cook up a situation where someone can post that shouldn't be able to post. Okay, so responsive design, the current trend, and it's always a trend, right? This isn't going to be the rule forever and ever because things always change. But right now, when we develop web applications, we always start here. And you've been seeing me do this right from the get-go. Smaller the screen, I should say, the nice thing about starting small like this is that you really have to make very good choices. And you might have like the best, most useful application in the world, but if you can't get your user to actually use it, and you can't get that user to understand it, I mean, this is like, there's nothing more important, right? There's client side, there's server side, people have their preferences, but they're all equally important. You have to be able to do it right. You do it right in this day and age by starting here. Add a little bit more screen or a little bit more capability. The larger the screen gets, you get to your laptop. And the truth is that some apps really aren't suited for the phone. Some really only are meant to be used on a laptop or desktop, right? But you have to account for this. And it is really best to start here, even if it's not really your target audience, because you will find a use for it. So we do this with media queries. Again, this is review. You've seen me do this. You can determine the screen size of the device, and you can change styles according to that screen size. So in our case, we just been doing kind of the very simple example. I might as well start this up here, but here's our Recycle Freedom application. So you got big screen, and really the only thing we did was just kind of make sure that it doesn't fill up the sides here, because it gets too wide, it's hard to see. And I'd even say that this is like a little bit too wide because I can't get the whole picture. I should probably even shrink those margins, or increase those margins even more. You turn it over to the mobile view. Whoops. Turn it over to the mobile view, and you see those margins get a lot more narrow. You got a different orientation, different screen size. You can make just better use of it. Turn it again this way. Things change once again. This should probably also be squished down, right? Lots of different things you can do. You should let your users decide, right? Always design so that the user can just look at this thing and just figure out what to do. That's really the goal, and that takes a great deal of talent and experience. So that is responsive. Very, very simple example, but this is how we change those styles. And again, you've seen this as we've gone along. We didn't look at these examples here. So responsive design, the good, the bad, the ugly. We'll start with the good one first. I always like this one as well. The Sasquatch Festival. Because if I have another quirky fact, it's not a quirky fact about me necessarily, but I do know 3 people, actually now 4, that claim to have seen the Sasquatch. The nice thing about this site, and it is pro, it's on trend, it's all the rest. This is the big screen. Watch how it changes when we get to the little mobile screen. I guess it wasn't that dramatic a change, but at least one thing we've noticed here, it's got that nice sliding interface. You make it back into the big screen. It displays it all plain so you can see. The larger the screen, the more real estate you have, you got a bunch more different options, maybe even more challenges. I kind of like designing for the small screen myself. In any case, example of an excellent responsive design. Let's try this one. And this one's kind of getting more and more unfair, right? This is supposed to be the bad. Or is this the ugly? Is this the bad or the ugly? Yeah, the good, the bad. So Toronto Craigslist. I actually don't even think that this is bad. You should have seen it the very first cohort we did. It's still bad, but it's mostly just well, this is bad actually because it's the same view on the big screen as it on the little screen. This didn't actually used to happen. That's every time we look at it, it changes. So This is definitely more suited for a mobile device than it is for a large screen. If you went back 8 weeks ago with the previous cohort, we were looking at this exact same slide. The reverse was true. That's the strange thing about it. It changes every single time I look at it. And really, why would I look at it more than once a cohort? Because I'm not looking at Toronto Craigslist. But there you have it. Make it a little bit smaller. Come on. Now it's my computer that's being irresponsive. There we go. Let's take one last look. Yeah, it's getting better, I'd say. Okay, so and then the ugly. I think that this one really is the bad one. This is more true to the spirit of what this is trying to illustrate, because this really is bad. Here's Space Jam, right? So it's the same. This was kind of the problem with the Toronto Craigslist, and I guess it is more ugly than it is, or it's more ugly than it is bad. Just the movie from ages ago. This was probably cutting edge around like 1992, right? I'm not even sure when Space Jam came out, but oh, here it is, 1996. So that's even newer than I thought, but just terrible, right? And if you make it small, like everything gets small. It's just making like the big screen, shrinking it to the size of the little screen, and in this case, it doesn't even fill up the margins, right? So this is the ugly. And I'm sure, you've all had your own discoveries too. I'm sure you can think of a few that just don't quite work on your cell phone. Okay, there's our media queries, mobile first. Oh yeah, so benefits, right? Put the most important content on the page. You really have limited options, and a lot of stuff is decided for you. Let's get down to it. What is the most important thing that this user needs to see? That decision is made very quickly and very easily. Well, maybe not easily, but generally very quickly. So this comes up with simpler designs, easier to use, easier for the user to figure out. And I don't know if this is true anymore. Mobile devices have less power. It's true, yeah. But they're so powerful that it's like, are you really going to notice? I don't know that there's anything on a web application. I say that, and then all of a sudden I remember. I just actually saw one the other day. But, the notion here being that the computer in your pocket is a lot less powerful than the one on your desk. So try to make it simpler for the benefit of your battery and for the benefit of its slower processor or weaker processor. Okay, and we've done Git. We don't need to do this, right? This is we used to leave this to last, and I started changing that up a couple of classes ago. Push, pull. Okay, so here we come to about as far as we can go with this Recycle Freedom application. Let me start off by showing you the problem. Right now, we are in a position where you have to log in. We can authenticate a user, but there's really nothing stopping from an unauthenticated user just from coming along and going like this. Right? I shouldn't be able to post a new cache unless I've been logged in. This should not work. Let's find a picture. What is going on? Let's try that again. It's trying to mount a remote file system. Oh, here we go. Oh. Which one were these? I can't remember what that picture was. Oh, that's a receipt. Okay. Let's just do this pumpkin one again. I just want to get rid of it. Press open. Okay. Post. This should not work. I haven't logged in, but it does. So we got to stop that. So now the very first step to that is this simple question using these before filters. Is the user logged on? We've already defined this in our helper. So right up here at the top, you get this is again should be more review. If you don't remember right away, that's fine too. But we're gonna take a look at it now. Right up here at the top, we've got this method that we've defined, and it just looks inside the session hash and asks, well, did some user or did we set this user? Were we supposed to remember something here? If that is the case, if the application does have a user to remember, then it just simply says true. If it's not, if this value is nil, well, this will be true, and it will return false, right? Is the user logged in? False. If there is a user ID, this is not nil, it's false. I just want to stress that this is actually being negated with that bang, called the bang. So we want to ask right down here in post cache, we want to say, if not logged in, redirect to login. Is that right? I think that's right. Or actually, we can do it this way. This is much better. So I'm in JavaScript mode in my head right now. If redirect login, if not logged in, right? It almost reads like English. You just see what you see on the page and say it out loud. So now when I come back to here, and I want to try posting again with the new, it should ask, is I logged? Oh, I guess I'm not logged. What? Hang on. Oh, that's for posting. Hang on. Really where I want to do this is here. Sorry. I need to actually create that for that to kick in. I meant to put this right here. Before I even, offer the user the opportunity, I want to make sure that that user has authenticated. So if I refresh this now, I haven't authenticated. I should be redirected. And there I am. Just for curiosity, because we spent so much time looking at those HTTP status dogs. See there, not modified 304. So those are your statuses. And I just tried to access a resource and I said redirect. I'm not logged in, redirect. That's this one, 302. Send me there instead, right? So you don't actually see this stuff. You may have never even thought of it before today, but you can actually look at these things, and it is important as a developer to set the right codes. So, okay, pretty good, right? We're protecting this thing. You can't at least access the form. Here's another problem. What if I am some nefarious guy and I've got a clever way that I don't even need to use a web browser? And it just so happens that both of those things are true. Nefarious guy has got a program called curl. Just like that. And this is like kind of just part of your standard Linux style operating system. Probably Mac OS has it as well. Enter curl at the command line. You can make HTTP requests without a browser. So let's try that. Can't access that post form, but I sure as heck can access that API. So I'm just going to look at my notes here. So I say curl. I tell it I'm posting a form. And the first thing I want to do is just post a new image. So this is the actual file. This is going to look strange, right? And this is something that, kind of getting back to that question, what's a good resource? I discovered out how to do this on Stack Overflow just this afternoon. It's not something I typically do all the time. So I say images, and I want to post this new one. You guys haven't seen this one yet. You remember the cabinets and the scrap wood. You remember the metal shelving and the press board. I've got two new ones here. I've got desk and pallets. So I'm going to post the desk and say that this also should not work. Desk.jpg. This is more voodoo. File name. Don't be too concerned about the details. I'm just giving it the location of the file. And And then I give it another piece of information for the form, the description. I say, this also should not work! Exclamation. And we'll leave that asterisk in there because it kind of looks like I'm swearing. So we'll take that, and then we've got, now we give it the address, right? So we've set our form parameters. This is just like if you went to the interface and you filled in the fields and the inputs on your HTML page. That's all I'm doing here. I have to provide an address at this point. So I say October. Actually, let me just copy and paste. I'm going to send it right here. Well, not quite right there. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, but this is the address, the base address that it's going to end up at. I actually need to do this on the cache route, though, right? Currently, the unprotected endpoint is right here. There's nothing stopping it. It doesn't make sense to do a redirect. So I'm going to say slash, whoops, got my cursor in the wrong spot, slash cache. Now, if I type this incorrectly, it should work, even though, oh, look at that. That's interesting. Okay, let me, it doesn't like those exclamation points. That's interesting. I would never expected that to happen. Let's try this a different way. Let's make it a little neater. Maybe I'll figure out why later. That's kind of curious. Doesn't like the profanity. Enter. There it goes. Sending. This should not happen. I should be getting a 401 response or something. But now when I come back here, never even looked at the website, still haven't logged on. This also should not work. We've got to lock this one down now. We've actually only done 2. We've got to do this for all the vulnerable routes. But yeah, there's an old desk I saw because I didn't want to use the same examples over and over again. So let's fix that. Now, I've done a couple of things here. I think, what's a good way to go? Let's do it. Let's do a before filter. Kind of waffling on what's the easiest illustration of it right now. But I'm just going to call everything. I'm going to say before everything. No matter what route I'm going to hit, whether I'm signing up a new user, whether I'm logging in, this code is going to get executed every single time. In fact, let's verify that. Puts hello class. So every time I come here, no matter what route I'm looking at, I'm going to refresh this guy. I'm going to say, see a message, hello class. There it is. If I go to the login, that code is going to get executed. Login. I should see a second. Oh, there it is again. Hello class. One more time. I'm just to nail this point home. Even on the route that we just protected, right? Because we actually locked one of these things down, and it was the new one. At this point, we can't go to /new, and we still can't. But you're still going to see another hello class. Just as I turn the page, it pops up, right? Every single time. Before everything, before you ever actually hit a route, execute the code right here. Now, this is, I think, like... this is kind of like a Sinatra idiomatic way to do this. I want to lock down all the posts and puts. I don't want anyone to be able to do any of these update or, well, delete either. So we got 3 rows to lock down. There's an easy test you can do. And let's just say, like, look, let's look at this. We'll say request. Actually, no, let's just kind of cut to the chase here. Let's say if request.request method. This request object is kind of like the params hash, or it's kind of like the sessions hash, except it's not stored server side. This is the request that's actually incoming from your client. Your browser created what's in here, and it's just accessible because, you know, this is a web application. We need easy access to it. So whenever you request something, one of those 5 HTTP verbs comes along for a ride. And if you want to peek inside of it, this is how you do it. You call that request method. So I'm just saying, well, is request method, does it equal post? If it does, say halt 401. So I am not even going to be able to hit this thing even if I'm authenticated. Let's just try it out. Let's say puts alt forbidden. You're not going to see that. You're going to see this on the server output, but you're going to see the 401 response. Actually, why don't we do it on the command line? This is a post request, right? Because I tried to update that picture, upload that picture with the help of my curl program. That's a post. So if I post it again, I should get a response back, and it should be that 401 error code. I hope, otherwise I'm just going to have 2 desks there. Huh. I think I might have 2 desks there. Did it actually execute? There's hello class. What's that? Did I save? Oh, I didn't save. Oh my goodness. Okay, let's try that again. Should say halt forbidden. This should actually, again, not work. Now it's worked 3 times and it shouldn't. Okay. Not happy about that. I actually don't know what's going, but now I think I have 3 pictures of a desk. This should not work. This should not work. Oh no. Oh, look at that. It did actually stop it. I was expecting some feedback there. Sorry, that's just not meeting my expectations. Oh, there, it did. It worked. And it sent back that 401 response. Sorry, my confusion is that I was expecting that 401 to get spit out here, but it seems to have failed silently. I don't know why. I might have to set a switch to debug that output. But in any case, you know, that's encouraging. At this point now, we're ready to do this. The problem is, of course, though, even if I'm logged in, every single post method is going to get stopped, no matter what. This is easy enough. We can actually do the exact same thing we did down here. Well, pretty close. We're going to use this same idea, though. And we're going to say halt 401. Unless, here I'm trying to save myself work, and it's just not really doing anything. I'm just going to send it forbidden, like that. So unless I'm logged in, I should get this back. So I'm in the same kind of scenario. I'm going to try this just because I'm curious. Maybe it's because I didn't actually send any text content back. I'm going to try to post this again from the command line with curl and see if it gives me that message, forbidden. Huh. I must be missing something. I'm not sure what's going on there. But we can verify that it worked here. Or maybe it didn't work. This should not work. This should not work. Oh, no. So it's working. What? Right. Unless not logged in. You see the problem I did? That's a goofy one. So we can kind of perform a forensic analysis on what happened there. That's a pretty big goof up, right? Because I copied and pasted. This is why you're not supposed to be doing it in Compass. And that's exactly what just happened to me right there. I should not be unless not logged in. I could say if logged in. That's what it was originally, right? If not logged in, then halt. I'm going to go with the spirit of the example here and say unless logged in. This is, again, just one of those nice things about Ruby that makes it like you can almost read it out loud like it's English, which is remarkable because it was created by a non-native speaker of the language. It just works out very nicely. So let's take a look at that. We'll make sure it's saved. I've got two of these things just to, for some variety here. Let's change it from the desk because it's getting kind of hard to keep track of. So I'm going to change the desk.jpg to what? Palettes. So this is a picture we haven't seen. If I've done everything correctly, it will get rejected. And I just heard my pocket. I wonder if that's Kevin. All right, Kevin Sherman's on his way. Who's going to volunteer to let him in? You're going to volunteer? Wonderful. So, yeah, he's sending texts. He's running late, but I'll leave this with you, and I'll give you the signal. Let's go. Okay. Oh, look at that. Finally, forbidden. Finally, I get to get some feedback. This is what I've been waiting for all day. I'm so disappointed. Nothing's coming down the pipe. But we know now that this is safe. We just tried it. We still, we got these two desks because one of them is in error. But we don't have my stack of pallets there. We can do it again. Every single time you try it. Now this API, this endpoint has been protected. Forbidden. Wonderful. Okay, so I'm just trying to keep an eye on Kevin because it is cold out there. Okay, I'm sorry, that just lost my train of thought here. Forbidden. Oh, yes. At this point now, we have to make sure that we can actually do this if we log in, right? So with Recycle Freedom, I can't get to new, so I get a redirect when I try to get the form to create a new post. We verified with curl that we can't get in. So now we got to verify, the exact opposite. We got to make sure that I'm an authenticated user and that I can create a post. Forbidden. Let's try that again. That's not my email address, is it? Which one did I use? Capitol Hill. Secret. There we are. Forbidden. Oh, why is this happening? This is, any guesses? Yeah, it's because I'm blocking everything, right? I can't do this. I need to be able to post to log in. So, whoa. Okay, now we got a major problem here. How do I stop this? How do I just skip it? That's actually, I prepared for this and I didn't even consider that. So this is all on the fly. Let's say before. Oh, shoot. Let's take this a step back and kind of simplify it. So we're just going to protect the cache. Before cache, do. So this should work. At least at this point, we're just kind of taking steps, and it's not perfect yet. But if it's a cache and we're making a post, now I should be able to log in because it's no longer blocking the login route. Oh my goodness. Password. Let's try that. I think that was a communication error, at least I'm guessing. Here, let's try that again. One more time. Okay. Problem. Undefined method password for nil class. Goodness. If user.password. So this is the problem. Password or user is nil. No such thing for the nil class. This is on line 75 of actions RB. So let's take a look. 75 all the way down here. Actions RB. It's almost like I don't have a database. What do you guys think? Anything I'm missing here? Obvious. Post login. Oh, if there was a missing end, that'd be a much that will actually be a very similar error to this, except it wouldn't be no method; it would be syntax. It wouldn't even execute in that case. So it's getting here, but why would it think that? Why would it think? Oh, because I did Daniel. Oh, that's why. Right, because I got Danny, Lanny, and Manny are my users currently. Oh, so yeah, really silly error, right? I was trying to log in as Daniel at Capitol Hill. That doesn't exist. So you can see the application still needs more work. So yeah, we're trying to figure out, can we actually use this thing? We know it's locked down for non-authenticated users. A pile of pallets. Choose file. And this is the one on my disk. Come now. Pallets. Open. Go. There we go. Pile of pallets. Oh, back to Bottle Depot. I took my mom down there, and it's like we walk in there with like $130 worth of like Bud Light cans, and it's like it's a little unseemly for a grandmother to be drinking that much Bud Light. Well, at least just appearances, right? The optics of this thing are terrible. That's my dad. So my dad drinks Bud Light, and my mom drinks nothing but Coke, and it's just, man, these people. So here's that pile of pallets. Everything's working. So we've locked down that one thing. Let's make this a little bit more robust, though, because currently at this point we can do stuff like this. So last day was it the users we did last day? Yeah, as part of our RESTful demonstration, we set up all those 7 routes. You should be able to look at our users here, or well, as an authenticated user, I should be able to look at Danny, Lanny, and Manny here. I should be able to look at, a private profile, perhaps. Did I mess that up? Did I say users? There we go. There's Danny. There's this one should be Lanny, I think. Yeah, there's Lanny. I think we did a couple of updates and deletes with Manny, so I'm not sure if 3 comes next, but you get that idea. So depending on what you want to do, though. Maybe you do want a public profile on your app, or maybe you just want registered users to be able to go and look at this kind of personal information, right? Like emails or the date that you joined the site, whatever you're doing. So let's lock down some of these guys. So we're doing this on before cache. We might make that one a little bit more robust if there's some time permitting. I just kind of want to give you this idea. If we want to, pick and choose, we can do like this, but there's a really neat trick you can also do. That's just sort of a nice Ruby way of doing things. So what I'm doing is I'm blocking all access to the GET requests, right? Anything with a view that's coming back. So the first one, we've already done this, but we want to dry out our code, is new. We also don't want anyone to look at our list of users unless that person's been authenticated. There's actually a nice way to do this as well. And we also might want to protect it like this. So user/ID/edit. You should only be able to edit unless you're logged in. And we can keep going and going. We're going to take a couple of shortcuts, but we'll start with that for now. And so for each of these items in this square bracketed array, I'm going to look at one, and I'm going to set up a filter for each as I go along. So for every single path in here, just ask the question. What I'm avoiding is this whole thing. So if I don't do it this way, then I need to do it this way. I got to take this one, I got to put that one there, and this is getting pretty wet, right? We don't want to write everything twice. We want to keep things dry. So let's take that one out. Now all these things are protected from this potential breach. So let's try it. Let's log out of here. Let's try new. Whoops. New. Redirect. What happened there? It thinks I'm searching for my own domain name. I don't think so, Google. What happened there? Let's try that again. Okay, yep, that's good. Let's try users. So before we could go in and look at Danny, Lanny, and Manny there. Now at least you know you've got the illusion of security here. It's not going to let me look directly at them, but I still could do curl, maybe. Maybe not. Maybe this is actually pretty protected. And then user ID edit. So we looked at Danny. We said user. Actually, we should be able to do this still. I should still be able to look at this public profile. This one's not protected. Yeah. Maybe it should be, maybe it shouldn't be. I don't know. To protect it, I got to do this, though. I'm going to recycle this guy right here. Just like that. So now that route's protected. There is a shorter way to do this, by the way. I'm just kind of going through it, the exhaustive route here. So this is now protected. And finally, last but not least, this opportunity for mischief here. Users 1/edit. In fact, you shouldn't even be able to edit a user unless you're that user. So that's another thing we could do. Lots of work just to make this thing usable. Okay, all good. Another couple of weak points. You know, these edit ones, we don't want to be able to edit caches. We don't want to be able to edit posts. We can use what's called a regular expression. So this one I'm going to protect by doing this. This is going to look weird, right? I'm not using any brackets, and this is getting to be kind of advanced stuff now. Regular expression, just pattern matching. And interestingly, so this is just kind of an aside here, but regular expressions were probably one of the greatest, or at least the earliest successes in standardizing computer technology. Like, we've had regular expressions since, well, in terms of operating systems, at least since the very earliest ones, like the 50s, and maybe even going back beyond that in like terms of the philosophical foundations. Very interesting stuff, very complex, but very powerful, and something that you use every single day, and you probably don't even realize it because you know some computer's doing it for you in the background. So with this regular expression, though, it's not a string. It's denoted by, or it's wrapped up inside these slashes, right? So don't dwell on it too much. But what this is saying is that if there is an edit in the path, like there was with users/id/edit, it's going to now be blocked. So I took that out entirely, replaced it with this regular expression, and just to verify, I'm going to say user/1/edit. I should still redirect, just to prove that it works. There we go. Okay. Starting to lock things down, you know, not going to spend too much time on this thing. But we still got some weak points here. So we've protected posts. If it's a post, unless it's a login, shoot, we kind of got to figure that thing out. Well, here's an opportunity for a regular expression. Let's say Ruby regex. Let's just try the match. Or not match. How do I negate it? So here, look at me on Stack Overflow, right? This is where I go because I can never remember. There's just too much stuff. You can't remember it, don't beat yourself up about it because no one's asking you to test. They just want to see if your app works or not. But here's an example here. So it looks like this not and this tilde operator. If you use a Ruby regex, x does not equal x. So it's taking the string, it's comparing that regex. This should be true, right? Because X does match X. So this returns false. X does not equal Y. This one returns true. This is how Stack Overflow works, right? Thank you. That was very helpful to me. Look at this guy. He's got 325,000 points, right? Reputation points. Here's my meager 1,741. So just to put things in perspective here. Also, that is very helpful. So sign up for Stack Overflow if this is something that interests you. Okay, so I want to say for every post, except for that login, right? This is what caused the problem. I can't log in if I'm blocking down all the posts. So let's say before everything again, because I don't know how to do this on the command line. Let's say we could try it. Let's say this. Before not login. No, it doesn't like that. You can already tell. Yeah, I'm going to do the hacky way. Sorry, guys. I think it's, let's say this, request, I think it's path. So if it doesn't equal login, if there's no match in there, if there's no match there and it's a post, we can stack these up and have as many ands as we want. Line it up nicely there. Let's try it. I'm actually not sure this is going to work, but let's try it. Log in. Oh, phew. Okay, it works. Wonderful. That's fantastic. Let's make sure that I still can't post, right? I'm logged in on the site inside the browser. I'm not logged in with curl, so this should fail. And this was the palette. So currently, just to make sure that everything's above board, we've got one palette. If I botch something up, I'm going to have two. No, it worked. Forbidden. Wonderful. Okay. Locked down. Fantastic. Anytime we try to make a post request, we're going to have this check. We're still missing two things, though. The put/patch and the delete. Easy enough. Let's just do this. We just want to make sure that some weirdo can't come along and start deleting stuff off my website unless I know who that person is. So we got if post equals this. Actually, sorry, this should be or equals that. Is that going to work? Post and put. Sorry, I'm a little uncertain about my my logic there, but let's try it. Let's try editing a user. So I'm currently logged in. If I want to edit a user, say I want to edit myself, 1/edit, I should be able to access this. I can. Okay. Okay, I'm now Daniel instead of Dan. I'm going to leave my email the same, just not so we don't mess around with it too much. This should work. I should now be Daniel. Yes. Or sorry, now be Daniel. Okay, great. Let's try doing this. Is there an easy way to do that? No, we guess we can't do that easily. I'm trying to think if there's a way to do that with curl. Well, let's just make sure that it doesn't. No, that's still not going to work. Hang on. Okay. So I've got kind of like a weakness in this approach in my own mind here. I'm not 100% sure that I'm convincing you that this is correct. All right. Let's not dwell on that right now. Hopefully that'll kind of clear out as we move forward here. But let's take a look at this. We've locked down some of these paths. We've said forbidden. If you do something forbidden, let's say, oh, you know what? Here's a good way to do it. let's take this off. Let's save this for later. But I'm gonna not protect the edit route. Sorry, my big concern there was I wasn't actually showing you this. I was kind of like cheating you on trying to figure this out. And just by stepping away, at least mentally for a second, I think I can convince you that. So if we look at this, since I removed that, I can log out, and now I can attempt to edit that user's page. Right? I took out the block that would otherwise have prevented me from doing this /edit. So I will be able to see this even though I haven't logged in. If I change this back now, by virtue of that protected route, and this is kind of what I'm trying to figure out if the put is working and if the delete are working. We know the post works. Let's try the put. So I'm doing an update. That's going to be a put verb. This should say forbidden. Oh, it redirected me. Did I not save? Huh. Well, maybe it's matching that one. Oh, it's still matching this one. Hang on. Let's try that again. Okay, let's do the users /1/edit. So I should still be able to see it. Should not be able to update it. And I should see forbidden come to the screen. Yes, okay. Thank goodness. All right, there we are. This kind of thing, and though this was right at the end of the slides. This is where we might want to render a nice view. Like if you're talking about like the Twitter example, that 420 error, enhance your comm. They've got that big fail rail they call it, right? I don't use Twitter, but that's what they say. So let's create a new error. It's just a view like any other. Come up to here, views. We'll put it under the main directory, and we'll give it a descriptive name. We'll say error 401, which means forbidden. And inside of this, we're gonna maybe have some fun with our user. We could say you are not authorized to access that resource. We can log the IP just for fun. We'll say your IP we haven't set this yet, but I think you'll know the next step. Your IP in brackets has been logged and the RCMP have been dispatched. There we go. Missing one thing, we just got to get this IP value. It's another nice thing about that request object. This guy right here, if all of these come out to be true, and I find out that this person is not allowed to look at this page, I say request.ip. It's as easy as that. And we'll render this new page. So currently we're just sending this plain text back. It just says forbidden, puts it on the screen. We can use the same old ERB method that you are familiar with. ERB error 401. So we got a couple of unprotected routes there. Let's try this. You are not authorized to access that resource. That's even got my raccoon. Here's my IP address. Yeah, Cotrican. Go hide. Whatever you're afraid of there. Let's just do like some really fast responsive design. Hang on. All right, let's do this. Just because it's on the slides, and maybe you'd miss it if we didn't do a review. So I'm gonna create a background. Do this really quick on the fly. We'll say div ID equals error. Like that. And I'll wrap this all up in one div and put an image background. And depending on the size of the device, maybe I'll have a big image for a big screen and a small image for a small screen. So I've set that wrapped up, it's kind of set the stage. If I come to my public in my styles and app CSS, this is where I can set that background image. So I'm going to style the error pick right at the bottom. Error pick. So if this is a cell phone, I'm going to set a background image. I still haven't found a background image, but let's do that. We'll say background image URL. So I'm going to go find a picture of some police officers, RCMP. So we'll assume that this is the small one because we developed for the mobile first. That's wrong orientation. Maybe we'll do this one. No, that's a big one. Okay, here's a nice small one here. So we got, and it's kind of, nice aspect ratio. At least it's square, and it's going to be able to look a little nicer on a narrow phone screen. Let's view the image. We'll just grab this guy, and we'll set that value here. And then if you get this page, it's going to download that resource from the URL. Now let's make it, let's change the height. Hopefully this doesn't mangle it, but let's try it. Color white. Background, repeat. Repeat. Just kind of flying by the seat of my pants, just stuff I know to be kind of true all the time. Size is cover. Okay, so this is like my mobile interface. I want a really small one if I'm looking on a small screen. So let's make that smaller and refresh. Here's my status. Did I not save again? Oh, anyone spot it? I'm trying to style the error pick ID. These are the styles. What did I apply it to? What's special about an ID? Forgot that pound sign. All right, let's try that again. So here's my small screen. It's a little big. Okay, so on the color white wasn't a good choice of color. Let's make this. Oh, there was another mistake. I said CH instead of VH. VH is vertical height. I just wanted to fill the screen basically. Let's try that again. Okay, still a little bit goofy. Say gray. And I think it actually will take that E, that weird E spelling, the British style. Let's try it. Here it is too, right? It's gray. And gray and with the R-E-Y and the R-A-Y, I think are the same color. So, okay, so there's one example, right? I'm just kind of doing an off-the-cuff responsiveness example, stuff that you have already seen. So one of the media queries, if we have a larger screen maybe, you know what, I'm going to just, because it looks kind of goofy, make that a little smaller. Say we make a media query, find out how big the screen is, and if it's at least, I think this is a nice big screen, but it's also kind of small at the same time. 100,024. That's that's reasonable size. It's kind of old-fashioned, but it's much bigger than a cell phone screen typically, I think. Although that might no longer be true. So a media query. So for anything in here, I can apply a different style, and all I'm going to do is find a bigger image to intimidate this hacker messing around with my system here. All right. So here's a small RCMP image. Let's find something that'll look a little nicer. That's a nice big one. So this one's actually right on the nose, 1024. Let's do that one. Grab that. Replace this guy. So this is the small image I'm replacing in the event that we've got a screen of sufficient size. It's going to show that image instead. So this is the change I just made to it. I hope I made the crest there a little bit smaller, right? So I adjusted it more appropriate to the screen. If I make this bigger, and I get beyond that, currently it's 412 pixels wide, multiply that by 2.5 roughly, we should see the other image. Oh, and there it is. So there's the big image, and of course we could style this a little bit more, but that's the idea behind responsive design. You've seen it. It's this is review upon review. So okay, I think that's it. So what did we cover? We covered locking down using these before filters. We protected all our routes. I'm sure there's many right ways to do this. This is what I came up with this afternoon. This is like kind of that thing if I had been a little bit more restrained, I guess, used the RESTful style, this actually probably would have been a little bit easier. But I locked down everything I think is important. And yeah, 2 befores, a partial error, and redirection. Okay, any questions? A lot of stuff. You guys have really 2 good classes left to just get your projects online. And it kind of sucks with Heroku. The more I use it, because I'm really not a Heroku guy, but I've been kind of just using it for these demonstrations. The more I use it, the more disappointed I am. So that's just me, and that's just me being a nerd. But try to get it out there. It's a very critical step. It's all well and good to say you made an app, but if you can't show it off, then it's like, well, did you really? There was one thing that just occurred to me. Oh yeah, Git. That was the other topic. We didn't do Git. So again, more review. Here's the changes I made. I've got a new error 401. I've got a new image that I want to, just store alongside there for testing purposes. And I made a few changes. I'm just going to add everything at once. Git status, all that green stuff is ready to be staged. Git commit -m, because we've already staged everything. Say get demo stuff for week 6, day 1. And git push. Let's see how well it fares on Heroku. Heroku login. So this is like review in advance of Wednesday's lecture, because we do a lot of Heroku stuff on Wednesday. Daniel at Capitol Hill. .ca. Oh. Let's try that again. Okay, can't do it. I'm not sure what's going on there, but you've seen me do it to Heroku, so it pushes it out. Questions? No, use this time, please. Let us help you get this online at the very least, and then then you'll have something to show for all your effort here at Lighthouse Labs. I'll write up the lecture summary and come around and